Marketers are under more pressure than ever. Acquisition costs are rising and traditional channels are underperforming. That's why more brands are turning to non endemic advertising, a more innovative, more cost efficient way to reach high intent audiences and generate incremental revenue. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving tech space. And I'm your host, Priya Dialani. For merchants, this kind of advertising means unlocking new revenue from existing traffic at the exact moment when the consumer's attention is highest. Now, this is where commerce media also enters the picture. Once defined by retail media networks, commerce media has evolved to include any channel that connects advertising to the transaction experience. Non endemic placements are a natural extension to that shift, expanding the commerce media opportunity beyond a retailer's own catalog to engage audiences at every point of purchase. Let's welcome Umair Mohammed, founder and CEO of Nitro Commerce, to show how these approaches can transform how brands drive performance and how retailers can monetize their digital real estate. Hi, Umair, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Yeah, good morning, and all good on my end.
Great, glad to know, Umair, and it's a pleasure to have you on our podcast today. And I think these new terms, the non-endemic placements, commerce media, so much has been going around in the marketing and advertising space. And with the intervention of technology, I think it's time that retailers and e-commerce players kind of revamp their strategy as to how they can grow and scale their business and reach out to their customers at the right time and ensure they're delivering the best customer experience that they can give. So let's start a conversation today, Umair, by telling us more about Nitro Commerce. I'm sure our listeners would like to know more about the company, its specialization, or any particular solution the company is offering.
Yeah, thanks. And of course, I think it's been a very fulfilling journey building Nitro Commerce. Just to give a little bit of context, I've been in the e-commerce space for almost more than a decade. Before this, I built a company in the marketing automation space and sold it to one of the largest shipping aggregators in the country. And so this is my second venture, Nitro Commerce, and it was built on one single thesis and one single biggest insight of working in this industry for last 8, 10 years is that it's not a sudden shift. Honestly, it's been a gradual shift over the last decade of how customers have consumed media, how customers have consumed content, how customers have discovered your product, discovered your company. And so we built Nitro Commerce on this single biggest insight is that for marketers, this shift has been coming and it will continue to penetrate. Customers have continued to go online in a big digital way. And I do not mean online in the sense of only transaction, to be very honest. I mean online in the sense of the smartphone penetration of how they discover your brand. You could still sell great amount of product on retail, on a shop, and still advertise digitally simply because that's just the way customers discover your products these days. And so we started building Nitro Commerce with this single biggest insight is that as consumers have gone digital, the traditional media, the way customers find out your product, they discover it, will also change and has been changing. And is there a way for us to bring a lot of this together and make it easy for small medium businesses that essentially will contribute about 45% of the entire ad spends in the next 4 years? So that's a big number. We're talking about an industry which is about 80,000, 90,000 crore now. And 45% of that industry will be contributed by small media merchants. The entire of Facebook's growth, Google growth has come from SMB merchants. So, but they cannot typically consolidate all of the inventory. They cannot consolidate all of the media. So there was a need of a company that could come in and consolidate this media in a way that traditionally, consolidated in terms of the type of inventory, consolidated in terms of, intelligence, and package it in a very easy to operate kind of a way for these small, medium businesses. And that's what Nitro Commerce did really well. And that's why we started this company is because we saw this gap. And we saw this gap after years of working with the commerce industry, after years of understanding the P&L, the razor thin margins, the need for incremental revenue, the need for bringing the CAC down, the need for converting more customers on the website, and so, and it's bang on money, because it's a very, it's a problem that's paining from the smallest of the merchant who's just started like 2 months back to some of the largest merchants today. If you talk to any e-commerce player, if you talk to any D2C brand which has scaled 100, 200, 300 crores as well, and you ask them that, what are the top five challenges, the first will be, how do I bring down the CAC? Second will be, how do I improve my conversion rates? How do I improve my retention metrics? How do I, understand my existing customers better? Yeah. So I think those are some of the problems that will a largest merchant will also tell you, just like it was a problem and still is a problem, big problem to solve. And of course, it needed someone from, from the industry with deeper insights to kind of, build a solution around it. So I think that's what we started doing with Nitro Commerce. And so far, it has been an amazing journey. 2,000 plus merchants have trusted us to deploy this. I think this has been a phenomenal. I'm being very honest, we did not envisage this kind of response so early into the company's journey. But it's such a massive problem that people want to snatch the product right out of your hand. They want this, they want that, they want depth in the product, which of course comes, in due course of time in traditional sense. But yeah, I mean, we've been very fortunate to work with some of the largest, some of the, but also some of up and coming merchants, some of them which are growing extremely rapidly. And that's what Nitro Commerce is all about. Our ads product, which is Nitro Ads, is a flagship offering. Currently we have more than 2,000 plus merchants using it. And, and we're very proud to say that we are the only ones doing it.
Glad to know, Mir, and thank you for that overview. I'm really glad to know that how your particular specialization clearly addresses all the tangible challenges that are faced by your customers and the overall market as it continues to evolve. And it's interesting to see how the focus has matured alongside industry demands. Especially we have a lot of expectations around scalability, efficiency, intelligence. All of these things are continuing to rise. With that in mind, so you have already given us a very good overview of the current market scenario. But every brand, regardless of industry, is chasing similar goals. They want profitable
Yeah.
growth, effective advertising, and even data driven decisions. For years, third party data has been the key to achieving these goals. But what happens in a cookieless world where third party data is gone? And data disruption has made retail media networks and the gold mine of first party data, incredibly attractive. And we have marketplaces like Amazon that possess over a decade of data on user segments or shopping behaviors, and all of this can benefit any brand that is looking for growth. But
Yeah.
knowing the value of retail media is only the first step. For non-endemic brands without a retail experience, it's important that we look at a very thoughtful approach. So non-endemic ads are a big unlock, and selling intent rather than inventory. So why is quick commerce uniquely positioned to monetize this intent compared to e-commerce or social media platforms?
I think that's a very, very interesting question. And honestly, I quick commerce. So I can speak about quick commerce for almost like almost a day, but I'm also cognizant of the time. So when quick commerce came in, I think like everybody else, we also thought that quick commerce it's a fad. And nobody wants something in 8 minutes. Nobody wants something in 15 minutes. And current delivery timelines are good enough. They are anyways across the world, they were strictly some of the best timelines. Next day delivery was still, so for example, prime delivery. So, but today we see that it's no longer a fad. We call them habit forming softwares. And the biggest example is the likes of Uber that came in and just changed if I ask you that, do you remember a time when you did not have Uber in your life? And I remember, and in fact, just yesterday we were discussing it, that it was so cabs were a premium. You would know like a cab company nearby, and you would have to call them and give them the details, and they would might have availability of a cab or not. And to build in that space and change habits of people, that is invaluable. Now, the business, of course, we can all debate on unit economics, on what it takes to bring that 8 minutes, a 10-minute delivery, and in fact, but at the same time, I think quick commerce has kind of changed the narrative of e-commerce deliveries, and not just deliveries, right? So they have changed the narrative of what it means to cater to customers, and this dark store model of low inventory but high velocity is absolutely phenomenal because it also fits really well into the India's ecosystem where, unlike, let's say, a Europe ecosystem or a US where grocery shopping is a thing, like people do that in their spare time, in their free time. But because of the sheer dynamic of the way that India is built, and especially the metro with the traffic problem, with the density of population problem, quick commerce solves it in a very, very effective way. So I don't need to go on and on about quick commerce, but I think it's a habit forming software, and it fundamentally shifted a way people think about buying items. Right now, it's not just about getting it right now, immediately. It's also about, when do I have the need, right? And is the need fulfilled in 8 minutes or 2 hours is immaterial. But once the habit gets formed of wanting something, you also shift the way you think about how you're going to buy other items. It started off. I remember my first thing with quick commerce was I wanted to buy batteries for the remote because I'm a football fan. So my favorite team's match was starting, and my remote ran out of batteries, and I had not used Blinkit or Zepto or Instamart before that. And so I just quickly downloaded an app, and it showed that they are delivering in 8 minutes. I ordered Duracell, and it came in, and it just was a seamless experience, and that kind of just it was a wow moment, right? And so quick commerce is positioned to take and do this customer delight of bringing the product right at the doorstep in X amount of time. And I feel like a lot of e-commerce sales will move towards quick deliveries. Because look, all e-commerce sales are not equal, have different needs and different needs, but at least the high velocity items, the items that people would want now, they want today. For example, fashion will take some time to get into quick commerce. I mean, the functional fashion might be available, but the fashion that you want to research, that you want to wear, it takes impulse, it takes a lot of buying decisioning before the final decision. So I think there will be certain products that will suit quick commerce, the quick delivery route, and I think quick commerce is positioned in like the entire industry is positioned in such a brilliant way. I think all e-commerce will become quick commerce, frankly. And I don't mean 8 minute delivery, but everything I think will move at a phenomenal pace from, let's say, 8 minute to 15 to maybe 2 hours to maybe same delivery. I think even at 4 hour delivery, we should still call it quick commerce. Right? You order something and it's available to you in 3 to 4 hours. That still to me is quick commerce. Right. So I think that kind of timeline will get, and instead of having larger warehouse at the outskirts of the city, a lot of brands will move toward dark stores. So, but to deep dive into your question, why is quick commerce positioned? I think it's just like I said, it's a habit forming software, and a lot of people who see the growth in India over the last 5 years have come in two ways. The first way is depth. That means the people who were ordering, let's say, 10 products a month are now ordering 30 products a month online. And so there is depth in getting those customers trying to, they are buying any which ways the things that they were buying earlier on retail, these people, because of the comfort level that they have developed online on e-commerce platforms, they keep on buying more and more products on quick commerce. So there is depth that is coming. And the second, growth that is coming is new buyers, which are now getting introduced to internet buying online, and which is tier two, tier three towns getting now. So these are the two ways that India's e-commerce depth have grown. And for people who have gone from, let's say, 10 orders a month to 30 orders a month, these are your people who are going to continue to drive the maximum amount of purchase on platforms. This is the urban population that shops online, that wants instant gratification. They do not have the time to go out and specifically plan a purchase around their visit, especially for items like groceries or functional items. So I think that understanding of where the India's e-commerce growth is coming from is a fundamental reason why quick commerce is growing. And I think they're positioned in such a big way that the depth, the people who are the ordering again and again and again and have gone from 10 to 30 orders, are the people which will continue to drive that kind of growth. And I think that's what quick commerce solved, apart from obviously delivery timelines. But like I said, nobody initially asked for 8 minutes. Right? It was a good marketing way. Even had they said 15 minutes, it would have been perfect. Even if had they said 30 minutes, would have been perfect. But I think they obviously it was positioned at 8 minutes earlier in, at the onset of it. But I think that now the aim was to take those people that growth have come from. So, and obviously the endemic ads opportunity and non-endemic ad opportunity, I will talk about that as well. But I think your question, why quick commerce is positioned, I think this is just, giving the delight to customers who are repeatedly offering something. And I think the insight came from obviously Zomato building such a big business in food delivery. Right? That was the OG of quick commerce, if I can say, because they were the one who said, "Oh, food will be there in 30 minutes." And I remember Zomato not Zomato, Domino's advertising 30-minute delivery. So I think the delight around customers have always been there, but to do it at that scale and to do it at that velocity where, platforms are doing 10 lakh orders a day, that is phenomenal. And I think that's why quick commerce, I think all e-commerce companies will also become quick commerce companies. All the e-commerce platforms, the retailers will become, quick commerce slowly. They will graduate towards that. Oh, these items are available in 30 minutes if you want, and these items are, are shipped from my other warehouse are available in 2 days, whatever. So I think based on the velocity of an item is purchased, I think e-commerce platforms also will change to when they deliver this product and will transition to become quick commerce because that is what the habit is now becoming. So if they want to compete, so I don't see quick commerce as a channel. I see that this is the natural evolution of e-commerce or retailers or marketplaces, like we call them, and they will all slowly transition into this. So I think this is the industry that's going to make the massive impact, and I think that's how I believe that the industry is going to look like in the next 3 to 4 years.
Definitely, and that's a really interesting way to frame it because when someone opens a quick commerce app, they're not browsing aspirationally or scrolling passively. They are acting on a real world trigger, often with a very short decision window. And I think that's for especially for non-endemic brands, like that's really powerful because with the kind of advertisements, it's just that you're not interrupting a user, you're just inserting yourself into a moment of relevance. And I think this it is shifting the entire conversation from ad load to value creation. And that's where the real opportunity lies, that it's important that you design intent led experiences that respect the timing, the urgency, and also the trust, because in quick commerce, relevance isn't a nice to have, it's the entire ball game altogether. And I mean, you completely, the way you described it, it kinds of gives a assurance that it's not a different channel, it's kind of how the e-commerce industry is evolving, especially with the growing demand for speed and convenience. Because like we mentioned, the products are delivered like under an hour, 8 minutes, 10 minutes. And this shift is definitely impacting various industries, and particularly in urban areas where consumers, want immediate delivery. And I think here
Yeah.
artificial intelligence is playing a very important role in enhancing the efficiency or personalizing the experiences. So, how do you think AI is being used today to infer the intent in this entire quick commerce revolution?
I think that's a superb question. Ties into what we are saying that as I think I talked about how e-commerce is evolving, and with this evolution, like you rightly said, people are not just looking. It's not impulse. They're not just browsing. They're actually there for something, right? So the people who are getting accustomed to 8 minute delivery, 10-minute delivery are not going to be on your platform if you are irrelevant to them. If you show something, things which are irrelevant to them. I think personalization is an extremely powerful tool for e-commerce and has been for 2 decades now. Amazon started it when, in fact, it was famous that Amazon's entire homepage was dynamic back in the day. So I think the personalization factor of it is tremendous. It's absolutely, again, it's a tremendous opportunity because if your platform is personalized, if you know who the user is and what they're looking in that moment, right? Because look, and I think we have to just take a step back and also remember how advertising has been done traditionally in India. Before Meta and Google came along, and even today, some of the largest advertisers in the country, if you just have to look at how those advertisement is done, there's a plan that gets formulated, which is around what their outcome, what they want to drive from a certain ad campaign, and then media, the agency creates some sort of plan around it, and some sort of, the creative gets distributed, and according to the plan and the demography, the advertisement campaign is designed, right? So it could mean that there is some ads which is going in the newspaper. It could mean some ads which is going to digital medium. It could mean some ads which is going somewhere else. This is traditionally how media planning has been done. Now, imagine, but in today's world, I think what we need to understand is, where does the customer stand in all of this? And what does he mean? Do we still do demography based advertising and targeting? And I think the people who do not evolve from this are the people who are going to be left behind. And I think we are seeing that people who drive results out of, because they understand the customer. It's not about demography anymore. It is about 1:1 personalization. It is about intent mapping. And the reason it is about intent mapping is because intent is such a key aspect of what the customer wants today. Look, if a user is ordering 30 items or 50 items in a month, he's probably looking at 300. And if he's looking at 300, that intent could change. Now, right? So if I was the shirt buyer, by bucketing me as a shirt buyer all my journey with that platform, that is a disservice to, because I was looking for a shirt and I bought it. That's the end of my journey. I might look for a shirt again in maybe a month or maybe in 15 days, but right now I have purchased it. So these data signals of who was looking for what, the intent mapping, that is going to be the core of advertising. And that has been the core of advertising. If you look at some of the most successful advertising businesses in the country, aka Meta, which has grown exceptionally well, which is, I think, there was a report yesterday around 25 or 28,000 crores in advertising. That is an insane number from India alone. So their entire thesis of advertising is built on primarily two things: identity and intent. And if you do not follow what has been done, the practice, people do not want to look at ads anymore if they're not as personalized as your Instagram feed. If you go to your Instagram, if you look at your Instagram feed and you see, after every second story in your feed, there is an advertisement. But people don't seem to mind it for a simple reason that because it's highly personalized. And the more personalized this aspect is, I think that the more this, it creates that impact. So if I'm a high velocity buyer and I'm looking at 300 items, out of which I'll probably purchase 30 in a month, if the ads are not catering to me, I'm not interested. I feel, and all the Indian consumers feel, that if the delivery timelines are, there is instant gratification, I'm ordering something and I'm getting it in 8 minutes, 10 minutes, then I need those experiences to be extremely personalized. So personalization is going to play a key role, whether you are a large D2C brand trying to get more insights out of your first party data, whether you are a retailer that is going to, or a quick commerce platform that's catering to high velocity buyers, or you are a standalone independent app, giving people the rewards on UPI, right? If these items are not personalized, the experiences are not personalized, they are going to lose that meaning to that audience who has now been accustomed to an 8-minute delivery, right? So I think that is a very important segue, because that urban population growth, which is resulting of majority of e-commerce transaction, they want their experiences to be tailored. They want special VIP treatment. They want everything now, and they want everything to be precisely tailored to their taste. So we see it in various brands. They're able to position them slightly in a premium manner because they offer personalized service. I'll give you two examples, one from Indian, one brand not from Indian. Both of them are able to, bring people in because they offer some personalized services. Right? I wouldn't class them as luxury. I mean, they might be entry level or bottom level luxury. One of the brand is called Lush Beauty, and if you go to their shop, or if you go to their store, or or their e-commerce portal, you have to tell about your skin, and they will actually create a skincare product for you and then ship it to you, or then give it to you specifically tailored to your taste. And there's another shoe brand called Golden Goose. And if you go to their store, you like a shoe, but to make it personalized, they will have their artist paint your name on it on the side, or add some studs to it, which is, to make it your shoe, your personalized shoe. Personalization is a tale as old as time. The question is not whether personalization is important or not. Personalization is important, will continue to be important, and will continue to become the most important factor of why someone would come onto your app, or your or your e-commerce platform, or your D2C brand, right? So I think we have to just accept it that people want personalization, people need personalization, and I think they expect it now. It's no longer an afterthought. It should be your first thought. But obviously, it's not as easy as we, yeah, put it. So it's very hard to achieve. And I think that's what the advertising is also going to become. It's traditionally, you might have seen banner advertisement or whatever advertisement in your journey. Those no longer will work. What will work is tailored experiences, highly personalized experiences that are going to get people to click on, whether it's a scratch card coupon code, right? A random scratch card, nobody is interested. You go to a UPI app, you receive a random scratch card coupon code. You are not interested in that. You're like, what would you do with the Bombay Shaving Company? You have never bought. It's everywhere, right? So nobody cares about it. And but if it's tailored. Imagine you were at a Rare Rabbit store yesterday and you did a UPI transaction today and you receive a Rare Rabbit coupon. That is the delight that people are now looking at. And I think that is what people are moving towards. Why would they you continue to use your platform? If you continue to provide that value to these customers by personalizing, tailoring their experience, you will continue to bring those customers back. You will continue to create stickiness. You will continue to create higher, better retention metrics.
Right, definitely. And I think it's fascinating to see that artificial intelligence, isn't just about sending personalized offers anymore. It's kind of shaping the entire decision journey, what users see, what they, why they see it, and how that friction is removed at exactly the right moment. And when that is done right, it feels almost invisible to the customer, but it's incredibly powerful on the back end. And that's where AI becomes like a growth lever, and not just a tech upgrade. Moving ahead, the other side that I would like to discuss is that, of course, quick commerce has seen exponential growth, especially in the recent years. And companies like Blinkit, Swiggy, Instamart, and Zepto, they're like the second names that you have today. And it's they have capitalized on this trend of quick commerce. However, I think as it's not easy as said and done. And I think there are certain challenges that they foresee, especially with the integration of generative AI in serving ads. So, what challenges do you foresee in terms of, probably data privacy or regulatory scrutiny as quick commerce advertising is scaling?
I think obviously regulatory framework is something that all of us need to navigate. And it's not just here. I think the privacy policies are tightening, and people are very wary about their data being misused, and the governments are stepping in terms of, tightening the screws, which is the right way to do it, because it leads to a lot of cyber fraud. It leads to, so I think it's important to be cautious in that front. So India is a growing digital economy. People are first, getting into sort of first transaction through UPI or through other digital means, and they're participating in the digital economy. It's important to safeguard them as well, because there's literally every day we hear a new scam, a new fraud which is taking place. So I think the government is doing everything it can to kind of curb this. But having said that, I think it's a very interesting challenge, because how do you navigate this cookieless world? And I think it's not just cookieless world in terms of cookies being deprecated. It's just, I'll tell you something very insightful. We did a test of about 10 million of our buyers who are high velocity buyers on our network, and we did a study and saw that only 10,000 of them were available on open internet, which means that a very, very small percentage of people are actually going on open internet. So that means that most of these people who are high velocity buyer are just moving from one app to the other, and they're in the app ecosystem and not going to open internet anymore. So I think that's a very interesting insight. So the regulatory framework challenge will always be there. The scaling up aggregation problem will always be there, because imagine you are an independent UPI app and you want to build a highly personalized ads engine. How do you do that? Because Meta was able to do it with what they called the Meta Pixel, which is now, in every single website. But how do you do that as an independent app? And secondly, I think the most important aspect of it is, how do you kind of go from that to sort of aggregation to a personalized level? And of course, like I think you mentioned, how do you integrate generative AI into the advertising space without flouting any of these? So I think it's going to be a gradual process. It's not going to be like day zero to day one. It's not going to be that suddenly people are not using it, suddenly tomorrow they're using it. I think there will be some space where, the intent, what people are searching, the generative AI chatbots, or assistants or agents, like people are calling them. The agents will have search capabilities, and in those agent search capabilities, people, brands will be able to plug in. And we saw that. We saw with ChatGPT launching its own ads platform. Currently, it's not a performance centric platform because they're currently testing it out only for premium advertisers of the country. But I think slowly, and there has been a lot of activity in this space as well. If everything is AI, if all the apps that we are consuming become AI apps, if everything is generative AI, then what happens to advertising? And there have been, us also, we've been working on this problem statement. And I think there are a bunch of other platforms that have been working on this problem statement, that if the technology, everything changes to generative AI, if everything changes to chat interface, if everything changes to a kind of like a chat scenario, then what happens to advertisements? And look, there will be ways without compromising any data that ads will be placed based on the user intent. And I think people are already working on this problem statement. We are also working on this problem statement parallelly. And how do you allow these AI apps to monetize what they're searching? So if someone is searching that about, let's say, the best way to set up, it's what is the best way to set up a backend database. And at the same time, you're able to, offer, let's say, someone's cloud setting up service online in a ad format, but also based on the intent of the user. I think that will be very powerful, but it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time because, like I said, I think habit forming softwares do take time. And AI in our times is also a habit forming software. So slowly, our habits of asking questions in general have moved to more towards clicking less blue links on Google and more asking AI to kind of summarize the answer for us. When I say it will take some time, I mean 2 to 3 years next, we will see a transition of what will move towards AI more. And but I think ads will always be an important factor in this because it's an important monetization scheme. It's a way to monetize apps. I think we saw that with ChatGPT. They were under pressure of monetizing their customer because they have a billion users now. It was important for them to be able to build a aesthetic ads engine as well. So I feel a lot of people will follow suit, right? Subscription, while is the way forward, a lot of people are asking for subscription, but ads will continue to dominate because the business of internet has always been free. People have been wanting to use services for free. As long as they keep on doing that, they keep on asking for free, advice services without paying through the nose. Even ChatGPT said there in their announcement that people want to use a lot of the AI services for free, and we want to continue to let them use it by bringing in ads. So I think that's just the natural evolution. Ads will be a part of the conversation, but like I said, I think generative AI is taking over a lot of these, conversations, and people are now doing a lot more conversation with AI. It's an interesting problem to solve and to look out over the next 2, 3 years. And also, I think I also feel, having said that, I also feel like transaction and search still have a long way to kind of, we've seen time and again that just because someone is searching for an item does not mean they will transact with that item or transact for that item. And we have seen that example in, cases like Instagram, where it was a no-brainer, right? You have Instagram, you have a product attached to it, you like it, you click purchase and you end up buying it. But I think it's more complex than that. That product did not work out really well, especially in India, because there are multitudes of factors. There is a trust, there is transaction, who is charging, is this a fraud? Because anybody can run Instagram ads. So I think a lot of it is, so India is a very unique system. And in that system, the AI will play a very crucial part in building that trust, that building that second layer. So we are not there where agents are purchasing for us. And I think just the way India is structured, I think agentic commerce will mean something else in India. It will mean trust layer. It will mean people looking at items, but essentially trusting an agent to kind of get the best price around it, get the authenticity of the website, things like that, rather than eventually going out and purchase. So I think that it's a topic on its own, yeah, and I can spend a couple of hours talking about it. But like I said, I think it's it's an interesting time to how people are integrating generative AI and at the same time ads, and at the same time sort of navigating this regulatory framework of first party data, and how do you map that data? How do you map that you do personalization without actually flouting any regulatory compliance.
Right. And I think the next decade of marketing will belong to those that can master the interconnection of reach and influence. And as marketing moves away from the funnel model, the influence map will become the framework for success, allowing brands to evolve from broad reach to meaningful and high impact engagements that drive growth. And by embracing AI and generative AI and understanding this fragmented consumer journey, brands can craft more effective strategies, drive better outcomes, and lead with this new marketing paradigm. Well, thank you so much, Amir, for taking out the time and effort to be on our podcast today and helping us understand that the future of commerce, especially quick commerce, will continue to evolve as consumers demand for more speed and growth. And I think artificial intelligence will play a very important role in optimizing these delivery networks and ensuring more personalized shopping experiences. And having said that, I think it will consequently become a very global phenomenon, and will expand beyond the urban areas and transform how consumers shop for everyday essentials. Thank you so much, Omer, for your insights. It was lovely chatting with you.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Umair. This is for our listeners. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion on the future of advertising, quick commerce, and how generative AI and artificial intelligence are changing how ads should be placed. And I think the future of advertising is no longer about finding audiences, it's more about conversing with them. Stay tuned for upcoming podcast, and you can view all our previous podcasts on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.